Greg again from Heck Yeah, You Can Cook, and today we are going to make a Boston butt pork cut. I've noticed lately that prices of meat have gone up, and so I'm going to dedicate a couple of videos for using less expensive cuts of meat. This is less than $5 a pound, and it will feed a whole lot of people. Now, with Boston butt, the biggest thing you need is time. And so just be aware that this recipe is going to take a little bit of time in your oven, but it's something that will come out, will serve. You can probably get 2 meals out of this, which is fantastic. While I've got your attention, make sure everyone please likes and subscribes to the channel. We're having a lot of success. We give away an apron every 100 subscribers, so we're getting close to our next goal with that. Really appreciate all the support. We can also find us on Facebook, Pinterest, and I believe also on TikTok. I have an outlet there, and on Instagram. We have a Facebook group, so please feel free to join. Now for today's recipes, let me go through the tools first. I'm using my Pampered Chef 3.5 quart oven here that also has a lid. I would suggest you use a lid with this recipe if at all possible. If you do not have a lid, cover it with aluminum foil. A large baking dish will do. You're also going to need a kitchen knife, okay, chef's knife, however you like to say it, and a fillet knife, okay. And so those are the main items you're going to need for this, and of course a temperature probe to check the temperature as the pork is cooking. Now there are a lot of ingredients with this, so don't feel undaunted, but most of these are very simple ingredients. You probably already have them in your pantry. So we're going to not overwhelm you with anything here. It's just putting this together. Now a little background, a long time ago when I first got my first job, I worked at a barbecue restaurant. So I learned a lot of the ingredients you can put together with pork. It was called Smith's Seafood and Barbecue. Those of you who may remember that in the Knightdale area, then it changed its name to Knightdale. Fortunately, I do know the recipe for the state award-winning pork barbecue recipe. Unfortunately, I only knew how to make it for about 1,000 pounds of pork, so I've never been able to replicate it. Ingredients for today, you will need some collards, okay? I've already taken the ends off of them. We're going to show you how we cut them and put them in the dish. Of course, the star of the show is the pork Boston butt, and I've got about a 2.5 pound bone in on this right now. Like I said, it was under $5 a pound, so it's quite a great deal. I've got about 6 cloves of garlic, which I'm going to cut in half. We're going to use in just a minute. I've got some fresh rosemary, and yes, I bought this at the store. If you have rosemary in your garden or a rosemary plant like I need to have, you can just take off about 5 or 6 sprigs. We probably won't use all of it today. I've got a 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. Like I said, it's probably already in your pantry. I've got 3 bay leaves right here. Okay. I have got a teaspoon of paprika. I've got about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. This is dark. You can use light if you like. I've got a teaspoon of black pepper. I've got 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Completely optional. You don't have to use this, but I like to add a little kick to this dish. I've got 1 teaspoon of regular chili powder. Now I'm using the straight up chili powder, but any brand that you like of a chili powder blend you can use. I have got 2 teaspoons of salt. I have got a 1/4 or a cup, or let me say just 2 ounces of honey, ready in my little ready to pour container. I have got 2 carrots, rough cut, sliced I should say, not rough cut, about 1/4 inch thick, and it's going to go in the dish and cook. I have got some red potatoes here that I have cut into 8s. Now what does that mean, Greg? Well, I'll show you. You take a potato, cut it in half, cut it in half again, and cut it in half again. Should give you 8 pieces. And that's about bite size. All right, and it kind of works out for every potato that you do that with. So about 6 of those cut. You don't have to add these to the dish. I just try to make one meal. This is one of my 1 oven, 1 pan meals that you just make in one time. So there you got all the ingredients, and now we'll go through and we'll show you the step-by-step process. The first thing you got to do is you got to prep the greens. Now this was 1 bunch from the store. If it doesn't quite fit, it's fine to use less, okay? And I just roughly chop the collards through. Yes, you can bake collards. You see how I did there? I'll push that into the pan. Now, You don't want to overfill this pan, so you kind of got to play it by ear. I go about 3/4 way up. They will push down, and they will cook down, of course. And I am running to that right here. That's why I wanted to do this live. I'm not going to use this part. Got plenty of collards in here. It's about a little over 1/2 of the way full. Can't push it down any further. You don't want to overburden the pan while it's cooking with too many collards. Now, to this, we're going to add about 1/2 of the potatoes and about 1/2 of the carrots. And at this time, I only add a pinch of salt. The rest of the seasoning will come down with it naturally in just a little bit. Now, before we do anything with the Boston butt, you take your fillet knife, and you see you have these garlic cloves. And some of these cloves are a little too big to do. You may have to cut them in half. And we're going to add some flavor directly into the pork. I make slits. You insert the garlic into the slit. Now, an ingredient I forgot to add is I have some olive oil. You don't really have how much, but you're going to need that in just a little bit. Kind of make sure you don't go by the bone. Once again, if the clove is too big, cut it in half and work it into the pork. Make sure you spread these around so you don't have all the concentration in one area. Now that we've got that worked in, the next part is you're going to want to season the pork. So I start with some of the spices we have. First the salt, chili powder, a pinch of the black pepper across the top, a pinch of the paprika, small pinch of the cayenne, and some of the brown sugar. And massage that all over this side of the pork. Good time while you're doing this to push the garlic way in. We're going to flip it, and some of the garlic comes out when you flip it. It's okay, we'll just restuff it back in. Season the other side. We're using all the same spices. Massage that in good on both sides. Oh, none of the garlic came out. Set that right into the baking dish. Always wash your hands after you've handled the pork. Now for the next step, what I like to do is I take some of the sprigs of rosemary. These are gigantic. I get my money's worth today. I cut these in about 2-inch segments. Just kind of work them on top of the pork. However many sprigs it takes for you to get that, work that right on top. I can see already how it's looking. Now at this time, I'll add the rest of the potatoes around. If they start to overflow on the dish, just set them aside. You're really guessing how many you're going to need. So that looks like it'd be just about enough. And you want to actually put some on top. Same thing for the carrots. Now if you have a lid, this is a good time for a lid check. Yay, lid's still working. Life hack there, that way you don't have a problem afterwards. Now, I add the vinegar, at this time pouring it slowly over the pork. Then I add the rest of the spices, sprinkling around the whole dish. We'll do the black pepper first, and the paprika, cayenne, chili powder, salt. Once again, if you don't use all the salt, that's okay. Got a little bit of the brown sugar to sprinkle it back on top. I add the bay leaves, 1 to the top of the meat and 2 to the side. Made a mess, didn't I? And then I pour the honey over the top. Love this little container. Get one with a spout. Makes it pouring the honey out a lot easier. Then I take and add just enough olive oil to cover the top of the meat. Now for some recipes you'll see them want to brown this. Because I'm adding the garlic into it, I didn't want to brown it first. You can brown if you'd like. For me, I just choose to not brown it and cook it slower. Now we're going to cover the preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and I'll make sure I add that to the front of the video. I always forget to say that. On a 350 degree oven, we're going to set it in, and we're going to let it sit and cook for an hour. We'll come back and check in at that time, and we'll see what the temperature is. Because, of course, with pork, you want to reach that internal temperature of 170 degrees. Thank you, everybody. Okay, everybody. We have pulled this out of the oven. Slow roasting for us so far. I let it go about an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to take a quick check of the temperature. Remember, for pork, we're looking for 170 degrees. Try to get around the bone, deep in there. Right now, we're at 129. So, perfect time to let it cook uncovered. Now, what I do here is maybe do a quick stir. See how the juice has come up? The collards are cooking in that. You couldn't ask for better. See how pretty the meat is going? I continue to let the potatoes and stuff cook on top. They'll roast even further down. Maybe reposition the rosemary. The garlic has worked its way out a little bit as the meat has shrunk. We're going to put this back in the oven. We're going to let it cook until it reaches that temperature of 120 degrees. We're going to cook it uncovered from this point forward so we can get a correct temperature reading. All right, we'll check it in just a minute. All right, everybody, the oven has gone off. And we have got our pork, Boston butt. Take it out of the oven. Do a little spring cleaning here on it. Take the probe out first. The rosemary, pretty much shot, so we take that off. Knock the vegetables that are on top into the juice. You see it's cooked down. You're going to take the pork out. I'm going to set it on a plate to rest. Just like so. We will pull that apart and cut it into slices in just a little bit. Now I stir this. Remember all those collards and how much they took up the space? See how much they've cooked down. And they have captured all the pork flavoring. They're going to make a wonderful side dish here. Okay, we'll let this sit for about 15-20 minutes. I usually put aluminum foil on the pork, let it rest. Put them side by side here. Okay, we'll let the pork rest for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll show you how we take it apart. Now, I do put aluminum foil over the top of it as it rests, just like so. So here we have our wonderful vegetables together, potatoes, carrots, collards, and then we'll have the pork and we'll show you that plated, and I'll probably show you a little bit of how I cut it apart as well. We have allowed the Boston butt to cool. While that was going on, we have placed our vegetables in a bowl. Look how gorgeous that is. And the beauty of this recipe is you can actually still taste the potatoes and the carrots and the collards, the natural flavors, but the color is just fantastic with that. Now, with the Boston butt, take your carving knife. You're going to need something a little larger. There is bone in here. And I just slice right through. Pull that off. There you go. Get it on the plate you're going to serve from. Nice caramelization. Good color all the way through. All right. Take that right there. We'll make our own little plate. Add some of the potatoes and collards to it. There you go, everybody. All plated up for you. I assume we put it a little bit closer to the camera. There we go. Takes a little bit of time. Southern style, slow roasted Boston butt. Hope everybody enjoyed. You can get a lot. You can see this large piece. You can get a lot of meals out of this, a lot of servings. This will freeze well. You get all the extra vegetables.